You have to figure out what makes you tick as a person, because when you don't feel like going, you have to be hungry for that next goal and that next challenge.
Welcome to Positive Recovery MD. If you're listening, chances are you want to create happiness around you and thrive in your life. We're glad you're here and you've come to the right place. This podcast will inspire and motivate you to not merely survive your recovery journey. We'll give you the tools to build or strengthen your foundation to thrive and flourish in your life. In each episode, we will come together as a community to have authentic conversations around addiction, recovery, and what matters, growth and progress, not perfection, all while developing positive habits for you to utilize. To learn more, please visit positiverecovery.com/podcasts to sign up and to receive the daily positive interventions that we'll review, as well as gain access to exclusive positive recovery content available only to Positive Recovery MD listeners. All right, let's get started.
Welcome to the Positive Recovery MD podcast, where today's guest is proof that purpose can grow from one of the hardest places. Born in 1990 in San Jose, dropped off on a street corner at 9 years old, homeless by 18 with the needle in his arm, and spending over 5 years incarcerated, Skyler Ray turned a life of addiction and survival into a mission. Now based out of Portland, he's a hip-hop artist in long-term recovery who tells the truth in his lyrics and uses his story to lift others up. Through his Road to Recovery tour, Skylar has brought music and hope to treatment centers and recovery communities across the country, reminding people that change is possible, one honest minute at a time. His purpose is simple: inspire, connect, and help rebuild the very communities he once helped break. Please welcome Skyler Ray. Skylar, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on. It's always an honor. So thank you.
Yes, just hearing some of your story, I have so many questions, some similarities. You did, I think it was meth and then cocaine and then back to meth.
Basically, by the age of 18, I tried every drug in the book. But when I did it again at 18, I got really hooked. Meth is always my DOC. But I tried to get clean, and I had almost a year clean. And then I started drinking at this job because I told myself I could drink because I'm addicted. My drug of choice is meth. And it turns out I'm an alcoholic and I can't drink. And then, I made all these bad decisions, ended up single. The reason why I got clean wasn't for myself. It was for the significant other I was dating. And that's why it didn't work out, like my sobriety. And then I started getting high once I was solo again, but I didn't want to get back on meth. Cocaine was floating through the office. And I told myself I could do cocaine because that's not my drug of choice. And turns out, even if I could handle cocaine, I couldn't afford it for very long. So yes, it went meth and then cocaine, and then I was broke and then back on meth because it was cheap.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about, the important parts of what you want to talk about your battle with addiction, and then how the tables turned and, your rise to who you are today.
Absolutely. I think the main thing about like addiction that I like to focus about, that it is possible to break those generational chains, to be able to break down what is passed down. I think it's important to be able to show that, with motivation and the right reasons, if you really put your best foot forward, it's possible to make that change. And so I believe the tables turned, when I got tired of wasting my life, when I was sitting this last time locked up and jailed and went to prison. I started thinking about my life and what I wanted to do with my life. And it was a very easy answer. It was music, right? That's the only candle that stayed lit and throughout the entire dark. And so I started asking myself, what do I want to do, or what's my best chance at making it with music? And I thought about, well, what's something I've never done with my music? And I've never done it clean. I've never done it off substances. Even at the young age, at 11 years old, 13 years old, I was performing in the clubs, drinking, smoking in the parking lot, things like that. And so I was like, I need to really do this. No cutting corners, no shortcuts. I got to have integrity when no one's looking. I have to make the right decisions. I didn't get clean to be in recovery. I thought it was corny. I thought it was cliche. I didn't want to be like those people. Everybody's all sharing feelings and being friendly and buddy and like accountability. And I was like, I'm good, especially like going to meetings. Like That was a punishment. You didn't go to a meeting when you were on probation or parole. You went to jail. So why would I want to punish myself just out of free willing, right? So with that being said, I told myself, okay, I'm not going to get clean to be in recovery. I'm going to get clean to give myself my best shot at music. And so I decided to do that. Nowadays, I stay clean because the life that recovery provided, I refuse to give up on. And I truly believe that internal conversation that I had in prison while I was sitting on my bunk was the moment, my revelation, where the tables turned. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And it's crazy because once you get your foot in the door and you see the blessings that recovery gives you, you're like, why would I live any other way? It's insane to think that like everything's working now. I'm still me, right? Of course, I do work on myself. But the difference maker is I'm not high and I'm not drunk. My brain is firing off on all the proper cylinders. And so that was the moment the tables turned.
Let's pause on that for a minute because you talked about a couple of things
Okay.
that are like paramount. Because recovery is
Thank you.
recovery. When you remove the substances, you're just returning to your baseline. And I remember listening to part of your story that you were telling on a podcast where you were in the Paranoia Square.
Yeah, Paranoia Park.
Paranoia Park, and you got out of Paranoia Park and you were working in the high rise. But once the substances were removed and you were doing good, I forgot how you described it's the chatter in your head, the things that it's our baseline. And if you remove the substances, that's great, but you're just returning to baseline, and baseline's the reason we used in the first place. So we had to find something that inspired us.
Yes, you have to figure out what motivates you. I believe in recovery. You have to do that work on yourself because you have to figure out how they always say you're as strong as your weakest link. I like to apply that to myself. And what that means is, what is my character defects? I have to analyze it, acknowledge it, and work on it. That way my character defects don't become my shortcoming. And, what you were talking about, which I said on the other podcast, is a lot of us used to numb the pain, whether it started out as fun or weekend parties or trying to fit in. Eventually, our life started falling apart. So we dove into our addiction heavy to numb the feelings and numb the pain and be able to numb all the stuff that was going wrong in our life. So me being a music artist, I like to look at it as headphones or earmuffs, right? So while everything is going on around you, the drugs and alcohol blocked out all the noise for us to be able to get through day to day. Okay, so once you remove that, the headphones, the drugs, the alcohol, you remove those substances. What's in this is the headphones or the earmuffs. That's when all the noise comes flooding back in. So it's important to continue to work on yourself and to be able to evolve. I'm a firm believer in, putting my weaknesses out there, being vulnerable, and truly be able to round those edges. Right. I think it's crucial. I think it's crucial to never stop working on yourself. We all know what our strengths are, and we know how to, manipulate, maneuver, succeed in our general lanes that we choose. But I believe the power comes from, being able to shift the narrative and work on those things that drag you down. And once you do that, whether it's people, places, or things, I think it will help with the triggers and the things that usually have you give in, that has you feeling like you can't take it no more. You know how like sports players, they train in critical conditions. Some people go up to the Mile High to like Colorado to go perform because it takes the oxygen out of the lungs. So fourth quarter or overtime, they could really kick into gear. It's the same thing. You got to work on these moments and embrace them. And I'm a firm believer that all that pain, all that anger, I got anger issues, all these different things. You have to be able to channel it and use it for your own motivation, your own benefit, right? You have to turn that pain into fuel, that inspiration, all those doubts, all those times you doubt yourself, all those negative things you say about yourself, turn it around and make it a positive and make that your why reason of why you're going to succeed.
Right. And it's not as simple as turning it around. Like you're telling yourself something negative and you start saying something positive, although it can start as easy as that. One of the things that resonated was when you were talking about the noise. I don't know if the noise ever goes away. I feel like the noise just softens and you learn to ignore it and walk through it. but
Yeah.
you don't learn to do that until you walk through it that first time, which is really, really challenging, and experience that, oh, I didn't have to react to this. If I just walked through it and waited long enough, it just quieted itself. Maybe I can do
That's
that next
huge.
time, and you just keep plugging away at life. That's what it sounds like. You found a channel, something that inspired you to be able to walk through that chatter.
No, I agree. And one thing, a lot of us, we're addicts, right? A lot of stuff we've been through, we put ourselves through time and time again. And we tend to self sabotage because we're disappointed because we want instant gratification, or we don't know how to handle disappointment or failure. And all we're used to doing is drinking or getting high. It's just real life experiences being clean from substances and understanding that, have the confidence that things will work out, and no matter what, you're going to be okay. And like you said, that noise, you learn to deal with it.
Yeah, you do. And you learn to deal with it. We think different. I fully
Yeah.
believe that our brains just operate on a higher frequency. That's most people's. Some run faster, some see things differently. It's just different than what the norm is. But
Yes.
I also believe that we're right where we're supposed to be. And that moment you had when you were on the jail cell, right? It was thought. That was it. There
Yeah.
wasn't really an action that had taken place yet. And there's a point in time, see if you can think of this. There's a decision, one decision that changed the course of your life, where you were at a certain place and something happened, and that interaction, that person altered the course of your life. Like, I'm not hosting this podcast if I didn't trip into a yoga studio in 2017 when working for the family business after being in 10 treatment centers, 10 halfway houses, finally getting sober in '06. But in 2017, I tripped into something called Baptiste yoga. And it kind of ties to what you were talking about. Baptiste yoga is a heated, intentional style of flow where you move your body the way your body is supposed to be moved. And you invite all the stressful elements. Like, you do it in 95-degree temperature, but the way you breathe.
Oh, like hot yoga. I've done hot yoga.
Yeah. And there's a certain way you breathe through your nose. It's called Ujjayi breath, which creates heat from the inside out, because the transformation is really from the inside out. And then the peak pose is wheel pose, where you're backwards and it's your fullest self-expression. So what you're saying is that you went through all those stressful elements to get to doing what you love to do, which is your fullest self-expression and giving back and making a difference to the world. So tell people what you do today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like he said at the beginning, I'm a national touring artist who's in long-term recovery. My passion's always been music ever since 9 years old. When I heard Eminem, I was like, this is what I'm doing the rest of my life. Started doing music at 11. On top of that, so what I do nowadays is I use my music in a positive way. I use my voice to be able to help others out and try to inspire them. We've had some crazy, to me, some big accomplishments, right? We've been able to travel the world. We've been able to tour the country, been able to rock arenas, tour with big name artists. But probably my favorite music accomplishment is we are currently on the Road to Recovery tour. And what we do is we bring recovery focused events to jails, prisons, and rehabs around the country. Okay. And on this tour, we just completed tour stop number 100. So that means I've never been, being an addict, I've never been consistent at anything in my life, right? The fact that we have been able to do 100 stops, this tour has been going on for 4 years. Okay. When I started getting all these messages, right, about how my music has changed their life or got them clean, just because I believe getting clean, I want to be authentic with my music, right? I don't rap about gang stuff because I was never a gang banger. I don't rap about material stuff. This is about as nice as you'll see me when I pop out. Other than that, I'm not even matching when I go to the grocery store. You wouldn't even recognize me, right? Because a lot of times I don't care what I look like. I don't got to have a nice watch. I don't got to have chains. So, I learned to be enough for myself. But with that being said, I wanted to be authentic in my music. And once I did that, a lot of people started relating. I'm a goofball. I like to make music and I have a past with addiction. I've been locked up, found myself homeless, foster care. So I like to share that in my music. My my experience, strength, and hope, right? And so I started getting all these messages, and I was like, how can I get in front of these people, right? Because we felt like we kind of hit a ceiling locally because we kept doing like these clubs and we're breaking like an attendance records. It'd be like 200 people like capacity, but we would have like 340 people up in there. And we just like, I got tired of like all my recovery people coming to the clubs and the bars to see me perform. And I was like, what are we going to do? And so I was like, how can we get in front of the person that needs to hear this, the people that is relating to the music? Not only is it like a smart business move on my end that fits for like business, but on top of that, how can I help and be able to give back because I'm a giver? And so I use my message to do this in my music, but out of the very first tour, I called about 2,000 to 3,000 phone numbers around the country, and I got 28 yeses. And that is how the Road to Recovery tour was born. We bought our tour van. We had one tiny little sponsor, which I'm grateful for. And I only say that because as the years advance, it's been able to grow momentum. And I say that to hopefully be able to inspire, right? Like these first shows, like we're traveling all over like Midwest, like some like East Coast, all these different places. And I'm like calling these centers and they're like, you want to do a rap concert here? And I was like, well, my lady sings. And I was like, it's not your technical rap. Like, I'm not going to be in there pants sagging, talking about guns and selling dope and all this weird sexual stuff, right? I'm going to come. I'm going to be, it's an honor to be in your facility. So I'm going to come through and I'm going to respect it and I'm going to do what I do best. And they're like, so you're going to come out to Illinois or Michigan for free because we don't have no money for this. And I was like, if you got no money, yeah, we'll come through if you allow us to. And then so like 95% of the shows on that first tour was completely out of pocket. We're paying for all the gas. We're paying for, not to mention we had to buy all the equipment, right? So we're going into debt just to bring this message to recovery centers, jails, and prisons. And then the next year, these centers started calling. They started bringing us back. Now they got funds and now they got money. I'm making newspapers. I'm making blogs. I'm gaining hundreds of thousands of followers. I'm getting 10 millions of streams. Like it started taking off and I was like, this is incredible. So to sum up your question, what I do is I'm very blessed. I get to live the dreams of a 9-year-old kid who first heard Eminem. I get to make music, but also I get to cater my dreams and be able to have it to what serves me best. And that's helping other people out because that's what makes me happy. So therefore, if I'm able to, help inspire somebody along the way, I'm living the dreams that I've always wanted to. I haven't reached my ceiling. I don't know how I'll get there. I know I have a long way to go because I have huge dreams, right? And they scare the crap out of me because they're so big. But I know this is what the journey looks like right now, and I'm experiencing it. So I'm trying to enjoy it along the way.
2,000 phone calls and how many yeses?
28.
28.
28. That means I am like 2,000 to 3,000 phone calls, right? I was just Googling this city, boom, boom, call every single center, calling every next city, next city, next city. I had notebooks full of leads. Joan told me to call back. Melissa told me to call back on Tuesday. Like, all these things. And so if you're out there and you have a dream and you're watching this, that means I got told no at least a couple thousand times. But I knew this in my heart of hearts, this is what I wanted to do. And I knew this would possibly make a change in the community. And I'll tell you what, like we've rocked arenas, we've done big shows, we've done thousands of people, tens of thousands of people at these shows. Not on the Road to Recovery tour, but like regular shows or tours, right? And nothing beats performing for inmates and people that are in rehab and recovery, because these are people that I see in myself. I know what it's like to be at the bottom and don't think you can make that change where no one believes in you and you want to do right, but you don't know how because no one's shown you and your track record proves that it's not possible for you. At least that's your thinking that's gone wrong. But I like to show these people that it is possible. And so hands down, my favorite shows is the Road to Recovery tour. I love it.
Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So where did the disbelief shift for you to where you really started to believe that you deserved better? Because a lot of, one of the hardest things in early addiction is that we don't even think about some of the things that we used to love to do or want to do because we don't think they're
Yeah.
possible anymore. So we don't even bring them
It's
to the forefront of our mind.
I 100% agree. I remember, so I always tell this when I was homeless about like 18 to about 22, right? That time period sticks out to me because I always like to share this when sharing this story for the simple fact that it shows how gripping addiction is. Like I said, all I ever wanted was music. I've never thought about how I'm going to make it work. That was no brainer, right? Even my revelation in prison, no brainer, like that music. But addiction is so gripping. When I was out there homeless in the streets, I didn't want anything in my life. I didn't want a family. I didn't want anything. All I wanted to do was keep getting high. And I just got upset because the cops kept putting me in timeout. And it was like, I didn't want anything else in my life. I'm like, this is me. Like, I'm having a ball. Like, I'm addicted to the chaos. I'm addicted to, my abandonment issues got me addicted to being the big man on campus, per se, by being a drug dealer because everybody wanted you. You know what I'm saying? Even if the love was fake, it filled those broken pieces inside of me. And so, like, I was so addicted to the chaos, the cat and mouse game with the cops and having a warrant and doing dope, the adrenaline, the everything that came with it, right? The endorphins that would flow when getting high. I was like, this is life. Nothing else matters. And so I think what really happened was I got put in a spot where I got tired of going to jail. I got tired of sitting in there because like a real stint, I did like 9 or 6 months, got out for 3 days, did 9 months, got out for 6 days, went back and did another 9 months. And so it was like, you do that about 4 or 5 times, you're like, okay, maybe I'm willing to try something else because it gets real old. No one writing you, you're eating those trays. No one cares that you're in there. All your friends you got, as soon as you go inside, like there's no contact, right? But with that being said, I got out and I got that office job in that high rise above, right? And I was able to be successful. I think the tables turned right then and there because it instilled the confidence in me. Oh, I didn't think I could, but look at me being successful in regular life. This is what normal people do. Normal people, right? This is what they do. Oh, wow. I can walk out in the corporate world, the business world, and I can make something of myself. And I've never stepped into this world before. I stepped in blind and I was rocking it. And I was like, maybe I do have what it takes to be, operate not under drugs, not under that. Of course, eventually I relapsed and I went led back to prison and everything. That experience right there gave me the tools in my tool belt. And I try to remind people, even if they relapse or take a step back, that you don't lose the tools in your belt that you gained along the way in recovery.
Right. And to talk about what that looked like that gained you that experience. So you had moved your way up in this company and I think you were wearing suits if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Suits and ties, salary, bonuses. They were flying me out place to get awards. I had like 100 employees under me. I had my own little office.
That looked over Paranoia Park.
Yeah, it looked over Paranoia Park. So I was able, it was crazy because I'm up there in a suit and tie and I'm looking down and I see my old friends or associates, whatever you want to call them. They're getting arrested. They're selling drugs. They're getting high. And I was like, that's crazy. Like I'm up here now. I thought only the feds and the cops were up in these high rise buildings.
That was great. They're not watching you.
No, it's just people doing credit card processing.
So to set the stage for this, you started using again and your bosses came in and you got demoted and you went back to the starting level where you looked at the people next to you that had just started and they had just as much clout, if not more than you did. It's that humility, it's that humbling experience. And then you just pursued to get back up there again, but in your own way, not doing credit card processing, but processing sound and vibration and music.
Absolutely. This last time when I was in prison, I made the conscious decision. It was really good for me. I'm so happy that I went and saved my life. It gave me a chance to sit with my feelings and all the wrongs I did in my life, lots of crying, lots of healing, really understanding the way that I was moving didn't sit well with my heart. The way I treated people, the way I acted, the bad decisions, whether I did it for attention or selfishness, all these different things, right? it's not who I wanted to live the rest of my life with. So getting that clean time was essential for me while sitting on that heavy burden, because it really made me analyze, reflect, and shape the way I wanted to move when I got out. It's such a blessing. I was a chance to break down my entire life and realize that I don't want to be that person no more. And I don't know if I would have got that over, a couple month program or a couple years. Because I've never been able to get clean by myself. I've done treatment before, rehabs, right? But I truly believe a knucklehead like me, which a lot of us are knuckleheads, needed that long time of sit down. It wasn't like you can't trick the system and get out in 3 months. Like, I've done rehab and it was supposed to be a 90-day program. I brown nosed my counselor and I kept asking for work and asking for work. And he got so tired of me. I've done all the steps, all the packets. He was looking up packets online. He got tired of me going to his office. I'd stay up all night doing the packets, turn it in. And so he ended up graduating me in like 31 days. And my probation officer was so mad. He's like, I sent you there. It's supposed to be a 90-day program. I said, you told me to go and graduate. That's what I did. I said, I don't control the amount of days that I do, but I manipulated that because I was such like a brown nose in there and I wasn't doing anything wrong. So they couldn't kick me out, but everybody was tired of me asking for more work, more work, more work. So I needed that sit down. I did.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what a journey.
Yeah.
So there's someone that you haven't talked about, and you mentioned her a couple of times. I'm assuming it's your significant other that sings with you.
Yeah, buddy.
Ah, you really lit up there. Tell me a little bit about her.
That's First of all, she's the most amazing person ever. The sacrifices she makes for me and her, it's hard to explain. It's world difference. The confidence that she instills in me to let me know that it's okay if I make mistakes. It's okay if I make errors. It's okay if I, take a chance on our dreams and we lose. It's okay. Like, we're still gonna have each other. Like, she treats me, or she shows me how to become a better man. She makes me want to become a better man. Like, she has allowed me to grow in so many areas in my life and really be comfortable in my own skin. It's crazy to say that, right? But not only that, but on a music aspect, she is by far the most talented artist that I have ever worked with, been around. I'm talking about artists that I've toured with. I've done songs with multi-platinum selling artists. I worked with Grammy Award winning sound engineers, all this stuff. And no one is as talented as my significant other. I truly believe that music wise. Like, I stand on that. Like, that's how incredibly talented she is. She helped me rap on beat. She was the first person to tell me, she's like, I like your music, but like, you could use some work. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, like, rapping on beat. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm between the claps. And she's like, I hear you, but I don't know what that means. Let me show you what I'm talking about. And so, like, she would cut my phrases and words and put me in the pockets of the music, right? And then we toured on that album, did like 30 shows. And I came back to the studio and went to record something. And I was like, oh, that sounds awful. And I was like, oh, because it's offbeat. And I was like, I could hear it now. So she background in opera, classically trained, music theory. She's a very, very talented music artist. And I'm so lucky that, like, that's my other half, because we'll go to record something and, I don't know how I feel about my part. And then she'll come in and just lay down the hook. And I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like, yes, this is it. This is the song. Hold on. Let me go back. But it's like a song that I was like, eh. And then she hops on and I'm like, wow, okay. Let me get back and put my foot up in this. So yeah, she's incredible. Her name is Kayla Mulcahy, and I'm excited because you'll see us in Texas.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it, especially knowing more now with you coming, right? It makes a difference because you feel like you know the person and you can feel and hear what it is they're channeling. Because I've learned that sound is the most transformational. So if you think about all the things that are sound, like even thoughts in our head, they're sound. Like it's a vibration, it's an energy, which is why when you said that I'm not going to come in and rap about, guns and violence and drugs, because that vibration, that energy is not good for people in recovery. But when you're talking about hope and healing,
Yeah,
that transforms people's lives, and then
it does.
there's the other piece that you talked about, which I love, which is the knowledge versus experience. And you were like, she
Mm.
told me that I'm off beat, and I kind of hear what she's talking about, but then when you heard it and you experienced it,
Yeah. Oh, it was a game changer. Oh,
yes.
it's crazy because like I could hear it right away. Like when I do something like, oh no, 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 no. But before like I just thought that I sounded like that because I was an amateur, because I wasn't a famous person or didn't have. And so I was like, I always accepted that, but now absolutely hear that. And it's crazy because my ear is getting so much better. I used to like when I'd be like, cause I mix and master everything. So I used to have her come in, like after I kind of learned to rap on beats, she'd come in and maybe tighten some phrases up, little things like that, to make it hit a little harder. Usually nowadays, like 90, 95% of the stuff that I call her in, because anything before I release it, I make sure, before I master, I make sure everything's in the pocket because I trust her ear, right? But it's crazy because she'll come in and she'll be listening and she's like, everything's on. And I'm like, let's wind it back. Hold on a second. And I wind it back. She's like, yeah, everything's good. And I was like, will you listen? She's like, I am listening. I'm telling you, everything's right. And I'm like, quit messing with me. She's like, no, it's on. And so like now I'm starting to get more confidence. Like I could trust my ear. There's a few places now I'm like, hey, can you help me tighten this up? Not sure what to do here. But yeah, so she showed me the way, and I'm telling you, it took off. I'm talking, I had like 18 years of music and like 40,000 streams. And now, it's like we've been able to grow what we have, hundreds of thousands of followers, tens of millions of streams, been blessed to be able to rock arena, like be able to travel all around the country. Like I'm no dummy. I know that she came in and really helped me out, so I'm grateful for her. And I agree. Music is powerful to be able to challenge that, and everything is a sound.
And to point to the greatest rapper of all time, Eminem, he's a master of filling those pockets in one word. He knows how to.
He's crazy. So look, I went and I've always wanted to go see him. But I didn't have the money as a kid, obviously. Foster care, like my situation, then homeless. And then by the time I kind of got my life together, even at like 22, 23, before I relapsed, went back out, he wasn't doing shows no more. He did like maybe announce like 10 shows in the US in the last like, or maybe 10 to 15 shows in the last like decade and a half, that you could actually buy tickets for. I'm not talking about pop-ups or things like that. And so last year, I was telling Kayla, and she's like, I promise you, anywhere in the world, he has a show and he announced it, we will get tickets to. I said, anywhere in the world. She said, yeah. Well, guess what? Last year, he popped up at COTA, Circuit of America. And we were for the F1 championship in Austin, Texas, right? And we were literally front row. Like, we had four people in front of me and Eminem. Like, it was so insane. There's 100,000 person crowd. It broke the record there for Circuit of America. And we were just right there. He even had pictures on his website after it happened. You could see us in the crowd. Like, it is so crazy, but yeah, dreams come true.
When did you get sober?
I got sober December 6th, 2018.
So you were 2018. So he was sober before you got. He got sober in 08.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was December 13th, 2006. So I was right before Eminem, and then
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, what a journey that you're on, and I'm looking forward to seeing you here in Houston. Like, I'm sure you probably get up and you talk about a lot of things. Like, if you had a platform right now where you, like, if there's one message that you want to share with the listeners, somebody in early recovery, somebody that's struggling, that you don't have to put any music to it, like, what is the one thing that you want to share?
Then the one thing I would share to somebody early in recovery is to remember who you were before the drugs came in. Come up with a plan. Always stay with goals. Remember to be kind to yourself, but also to be patient. We all get clean and we expect everything to happen right away because we're floating on the pink cloud or cloud nine, whatever you want to call it, right? And we all want that good job, that significant other that's attractive. We all want a nice car. We all want money, right? We want the success. But the people that have that in life have worked their entire life to get it, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. And so keep expectations real, but to remember not to undervalue the power of consistency and small steps. Just remember to keep going, never give up, one foot in front of another, and be kind and patient with yourself. That's what I would tell somebody early on in recovery.
I was about to say that's so hard. It's probably one of the most challenging things, not only in recovery, but early recovery, but in recovery altogether. Because as you continue to evolve, it, like I said, the noise doesn't stop. The noise is still there, and you can start watering that noise anytime you want. And the minute you start watering it, it rapidly grows and
it gets out of control. I see a lot of people. I probably meet tens of thousands of addicts in early recovery every single year, all around the country, different locations, things like that, right? And like one thing that I always find out is a lot of people, they get out, and this world, money makes the world go around. You need money to survive. You got to pay bills, your housing, food. This world's so expensive. And so people get a job because we need a job to pay stuff, right? Especially if we quit those old behaviors. But we get a job and we settle and we stop growing. And we're like, okay, we're in this job, then we get in this relationship that doesn't really good for us. And we don't know how to set boundaries because we're still working on how to respect and love ourselves. And so people settle with this life that they're not happy with. They get bored. They hit a plateau. The pink cloud, the cloud nine disappears, and they're like, "Oh, this is my life. I'm not happy with it." And so they go out and they go back to use to try something different or relieve the stress or pain, right? And so with that, I tell people, chase your dream, right? You have to figure out what makes you tick as a person, because when you don't feel like going, you have to be hungry for that next goal and that next challenge, because that's what pushes me through. I could only speak on my experiences, and I know that the hunger for my dreams is so much that I don't see how, like, if you don't work on yourself, it won't inspire others as well. And inspire yourself. You have to figure out who you are. What do you like? You're you're trading hours in your life for dollars. Like, do something for you.
I could have a whole nother show on what you just talked about. There's a Simon Sinek TED Talk that he does the what, how, why, and this formula that companies start with what they do, then they go to how they do it, and it starts to get blurry, and then why they do it. Most people will say money, but money's not why.
Yeah.
It's the result. And people can't really truly identify their why. So I started teaching these classes at the facility, and every time that I would do this, it hit me. People come into treatment.
Yeah.
What do? They're coming into treatment. How do they do it? Well, they look at the other person. They're going to group. They go to group. Why do they do it? To get sober. That's the result. Why?
Got to put in that work.
But what was it that didn't turn out the way that you wanted? Like, if you really had to look at where you're going to be in 1 year and let go of all the things that stop you from believing that it's possible, right? That's the why. Your life didn't turn out the way that you thought it was going to. You didn't expect to be in prison as long as you were. So, because when you have the breakdown, and that's what you were just speaking to, if you don't have something to reconnect to, you won't be able to pull through it. And you have to find something greater than yourself. And that's what you're doing. I love it. Love it.
And here's the thing is, people get overwhelmed because they don't know, not only the lack of confidence in their self of being able to reach this dream goal, but they don't know how to get there. And so, the hardest part is getting started. I truly believe that. And so that's why I tell people, don't underestimate the power of small steps, baby goals, right? And just picking away each day, even if it's one or two things that you think don't matter or make a change, it will make a difference in the direction that you are heading.
Yep, because no means no, and 1,972 no's mean no. But it's those 28. It's those 28 yeses.
I knew you were going with that.
So if someone wanted to go and listen to your music today, where's the best place to send them?
The best place to send them is you could just go to Google and you can search Skyler Ray, Skyler, and then Ray, Skyler Ray. Everything will pop up. You can put me on any major streaming platform, Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff, Pandora, iHeartRadio. or you can go on any social media platform and put in Skyler Ray. You'll find me.
It's surreal, isn't it?
It's crazy. I live a dream. It's scary.
7 years.
It's crazy, bro. 7 years. And that's the thing is like, I love music so much. I would be doing music till I'm old, even if I never made no money. Like, it's not, of course, I want to succeed and take to the farthest route, but I love making music. It's my therapy, it's my meetings, it's everything. And so, like, the fact that I could actually make a living out of it, it's like, that's the dream. Like, whoa, people pay me to rap? Like, what? Come on now.
That's it. All
Yeah.
right. Well, Skylar, I appreciate you coming on the show today and being flexible with the scheduling, and looking forward to International Overdose Awareness Day is on August the 31st. And Skylar is traveling the country. And just to tell you about how he's wrapping up his tour on the 29th, you're where?
Okay, so the 29th, I'm in Fall River, Massachusetts for overdose awareness. 30th, I'm in New Milford, Connecticut for overdose awareness. 31st, I'll be with you guys in Houston, Texas. And then on the 1st, I'll be back in Washington for a show. I got like an hour and a half after I land to go back home, load the van up, drive to the next state, set up the table, and I'm headlining that, right? But yeah, so it is crazy. So 29th, Fall River, Massachusetts. 30th, New Milford, Connecticut. 31st, Houston, Texas. 1st, Vancouver, Washington.
Keep living the dream. And we'll see you on the 31st.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
All right, Skylar, you have a good one. Thank you for listening to this episode of Positive Recovery MD. Don't forget to visit positiverecovery.com/podcast to sign up to get your daily positive interventions sent straight to your inbox. Be sure to subscribe to Positive Recovery MD on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts to receive an automatic download when a new episode drops. And as always, if you or someone you know needs help, visit positiverecovery.com or call 877-4-SOBRIETY. That's 877-476-2743. Our why is simple. We care. We are here to help.